The Indiana Hoosiers are home favorites this weekend against top 10 ranked Illinois. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying something doesn't smell right here.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Well, so much to get to on today's show. We have some Indiana basketball injury updates that Tucker Devries provided a couple of days ago, plus a scrimmage was added inside of Assembly Hall. We'll talk about that. Plus, speaking of injuries, we got a bad one yesterday with Indiana's Lee BeeBe Jr. One of the running backs in rotation is out for the year. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what that rotation looks like moving forward for the Hoosiers. And that's going to play a big part in this weekend's game, Indiana versus Illinois. And we saw the odds come out last week. I just thought they would have shifted a little bit more than what they are right now. Indiana is a home favorite against top 10 ranked Illinois. Illinois ranked 9th in the country. Indiana is ranked 19th. And depending on where you look, anywhere from 3.5 to 5.5, our friends at FanDuel say Indiana is favored by 4.5 points in this game. And ESPN's matchup predictor going into FPI and analytics and things like that says Indiana has nearly a 63% chance to win this game on Saturday night in Memorial Stadium. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying I don't think Indiana could win this game. I just figured that Illinois would be the favorites here. I really did. I really thought that they would favor Illinois. And of course, this is Vegas, and it's all based off of what people bet in the different weights and different dollar amounts and things like that. I understand how the gambling world works, but I just figured the public would jump all over Illinois. And they very well could between now and Saturday night inside of Memorial Stadium. This thing could flip and be an Illinois favorite by the time the game is kicked off. I just worry a little bit that so far early on this week, the public is all over Indiana. And again, I think Indiana can win this game. And I'm probably going to predict that they do. I just didn't expect it to be this heavy on the Hoosiers so far. Now, I will say this. My opinion in sports betting in terms of the spreads and the lines and things like that, in my calculation, estimation kind of opinion here, when a team is at home, you get about 3 points in a matchup like this. I think you get about 3 points in the spread if you're at home. Indiana, again, depending on where you look, some say 3.5. Our friends at FanDuel say 4.5. That tells me this is basically a pick'em. That tells me that Indiana and Illinois are pretty darn close. Indiana is actually favored on the money line. Again, ESPN saying 63%. I'm just going to be honest with you, though. This worries me a lot. That worries me that there's this much confidence for an Indiana team that simply hasn't played a competitor, an opponent like Illinois, where the Fighting Illini have. They played Duke. They went on the road and beat that Duke team 45-19. Now, I think we need to take a step back and realize that Duke's not as good as we thought they were going to be. Myself included, I was wrong about Duke. They might be another year away before they become a legitimate contender in the ACC. I thought it was this year. Looks like it may be next year. But at least they've played a P4 team, right? And I think a lot of people jumped on Indiana after a 73-0 win last Friday night, which was fun. It was fantastic, and a lot of good things came from it. I'm just not jumping on Indiana because you beat Indiana State 73-0. And I'm saying just be aware. Be wary of the fact that Indiana is a favorite. Could they be the underdog by the time this game starts? Absolutely they could. There's no doubt about it. I just don't know. Something doesn't seem right here. It's a top 10 team in Illinois, and I think they've earned it. I think they absolutely have if you're going off of preseason AP poll rankings, which if you've listened or watched long enough, you know how I feel about those. But based off of that and what they've done, yeah, they probably should be a top 10 team. We also talked about the idea that we figured in, or I guess I figured, that Indiana would be a top 15 team by this point. But again, I don't think Indiana's really done anything to argue that they're the 19th best team in the country, or that they're the 18th best team in the country, or the 11th best team in the country. I mean, you haven't done anything yet in terms of the eyes of everybody around the country. So I'm not getting hung up on the rankings here. I really am just genuinely surprised that Indiana is a favorite. Do I think Indiana's the better team? Yeah, I do. I do think Indiana's the better team. I think you're more talented. I think you're better coached. I think you have the better quarterback. I think you have the better receiving room. And I think you have the better defense. I think Indiana has all of that. But you've got to get up for a big game and you got to prove it. Luke Altmaier's more experienced than Fernando Mendoza in big games like this. Their offensive line for Illinois is more experienced in games like this than Indiana's. Their defense is more experienced for the most part. I don't know. Experience is probably even. But I think Indiana's more talented. And I guess my surprise here is coming from what we've heard all offseason long was that Illinois is going to come in here and win this game. I just don't think that's the case. I think Indiana's the better team, and I think they should be favored. I really am just surprised that early on, the public and the experts out in Vegas seem to think the same thing. And maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe it's a good thing that Indiana's the favorite, or maybe they know something that most people don't. I've stuck with it all off season long, that this is one of the biggest games for Indiana this season. It's the most important right now. There's no doubt about it. And you're now projected to win this game. And if you do, you launch yourself into a college football playoff conversation, because you then go on the road to Iowa, which is a mid-afternoon kick, by the way, which they announced on Monday, yesterday, which is a huge bullet that you dodged, not having to go and play a true night game against Iowa. That's big-time stuff. You go play that game. You've got two big road games after that with Oregon and Penn State split in there, and all these other teams that simply just don't look all that good. This is the most important game on Indiana's schedule this season, this one in Oregon. I was in there too. But at this point, it doesn't get any bigger than this. Top 20 game at night in Bloomington. And the Hoosiers are favored and projected to win this football game. I'm curious on how you feel. If you're an Indiana fan, let me know in the YouTube comments. Do you think the Hoosiers should be favored? Do you believe that Indiana wins this game? And for the Illinois people that have found your way here, tell me why Illinois should be favored. Tell me why Illinois is going to win this game. I'm curious on your take on this. And as the week goes on, I promise we've got good stuff coming up for you, previewing Indiana and Illinois with some Illinois folks, college football folks. We got a lot coming for you. I just genuinely was surprised to see that the Hoosiers were favored over the Illini. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, while Indiana may be favored, there's a big factor that may not have been considered just yet. And one person who's been key to a 3-0 start who won't be there anymore. Lee BeeBe Jr., your third-string running back who was very much in the rotation, out for the year. We talk about that and the impact next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Prize Picks. The daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every single day. What clothes to wear, what road to take, whether or not to cuss out your boss, right? But on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football being back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. So if you like Fernando Mendoza this weekend, maybe you like his passing yards line, cool, jump on it. Maybe you like Luke Altmaier. I mean, maybe you like him or anybody. Maybe it's another game in college football. You want to jump on that? You can do so right now with Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And again, make sure that you are subscribe to the YouTube channel if that's where you are watching this at the moment or taking this in. Subscribe to us. It's free. It's easy. It takes one tap of the thumb, one tap of the finger, and just tells you every time we post a new episode when we go live, which we will be doing this Saturday, Saturday night after Indiana and Illinois. Win or lose, we'll go live right here on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Also, leave your thoughts down in the YouTube comments below and like the video as well. Just helps us get it out there and have more people find it. And for my audio listeners, make sure that you are following over there, subscribed if it's a thing, turn on your notifications so you never miss a new episode. We got some bad news. Monday, what was it? Early, mid-morning, early afternoon, something like that. On Monday about Indiana football. And it was about Lee BeeBe Jr., the UAB running back transfer who is out for the year. We saw the play right late Friday night against Indiana State, goes down holding his knee, gets helped off, and it didn't look great, but we were hopeful that it wasn't as bad as we thought. But unfortunately, a non-contact knee injury has taken Lee BeeBe Jr. out for the year. He was number 1 on the team in yards per carry and number 2 in total yards. I'll say that again, number 1 on the team in yards per carry and the second in total yards so far this season. And Lee BeeBe Jr. is out for the year. And all injuries are bad. All injuries are unfortunate, and you never want to see stuff like this happen. But man, this one really hurts. This one really, really stings because I thought Lee BeeBe Jr., believe it or not, other than the once or twice that he put the football on the ground, man, he looked really, really good. I mean, he runs really hard. His lateral movement may be the best of all 3 of the guys in that room. And man, he was making the most out of every single snap that he got. Now, I think he was seeing the majority of his snaps in these first 3 games because of who you were playing, yes, but he made the most of them. And I give him a lot of props for that because Kalen Black is really talented and Roman Hemby is really talented, the Maryland transfer. That's going to be your 1-2 punch. And going into Big Ten play, it was most likely going to be Kalen Black and Roman Hemby. However you want to put 1 and 2, I think depending on the opponent or depending on their health and status, that could rotate throughout Big Ten play. And then it was going to be Lee BeeBe Jr. But if he kept running hard and kept getting yards, I mean, he was averaging over 7 yards a carry, man. You can't fake that. I don't care who you're playing. That's legit for a guy like him. If he kept running the way he was going to see some legitimate time in Big Ten play. And what if you're blowing out somebody in Big Ten play, right? Hoosiers, I mean, let's see. Let's pull up our schedule again for this year. Let's say you're blowing out Michigan State. Let's say you're blowing out UCLA, or maybe their interim coach steps in and makes them better. I don't know. What if you blow out Maryland or Wisconsin or Purdue? Or on the flip side, what if you get blown out? What if Iowa just dominates you for whatever reason? What if Oregon puts 60 on you and you just don't have what it takes to come back? Or Penn State, whatever the case may be. Lee BeeBe Jr. was a trustworthy third string guy who was going to see significant snaps one way or the other. And now you don't have him anymore. Out for the year. If there is a good side to this, if you want to at least look at the positives, if you will, he should still be eligible for a medical redshirt, which would allow him to come back next year. And my goodness, if he's able to come back from that knee injury, he could be one of your go-to guys next year. And I think he's that talented. I really, really do. I just think he was someone who I would have loved to have seen get more involved in the passing game a little bit, which I think you could see that moving forward if he's able to come back next year, right? I think he's someone who is absolutely capable of being a starting running back in the Big Ten. So this one really, really hurts to see him go down. But again, if there is a positive to it, he should still be able to qualify for a medical redshirt and have a couple of seasons left of eligibility. So now the question is, all right, well, now what? Who do you go to? Your 3-headed snake has become 2. And it's still a really good 2. Kalen Black and Roman Hemby, still a really, really good 2. 2 physical guys, really fast guys, high IQ, good in pass pro when you need him to be, can catch balls out of the backfield, and just two of the best running backs in the Big Ten. I said it coming into the year. I thought Indiana had maybe the best running back room in the Big Ten. And I think when you look at the 1-2 punch that the Hoosiers have, I still think it competes up there. Name another running back duo in the Big Ten that looks the way Indiana's does, that can perform the way that Indiana's does. Now, they absolutely have to prove it in Big Ten play. There's no doubt about it. And it starts this weekend with Illinois, who's going to they're going to pack the box. They're going to put 5, 6, 7 dudes in there. And they're going to say, yeah, running the ball is cute, but can you throw it? Can you beat us? Can you beat us over the middle? Can you beat us downfield? We're bringing the house to Fernando Mendoza. You ain't running the football down our throat. Indiana's going to try. So Caitlin Black and Roman Hemby have their opportunities this weekend, but that's exactly what Illinois is going to do. And so losing Lee BeeBe Jr. for just the 7, 8, 9 snaps a game that he might have seen during Big Ten play, that adds up. And that's where you're going to really miss him, is coming down the stretch at Penn State, against Wisconsin, on the road at Purdue. You're going to miss those late season carries that he would have taken through all these other games that are now going to add up on the total, right, for Caitlin Black and Roman Hemby. And I hate it, but it is what it is. But the good news is I still trust those guys. And I still think they're maybe one of the best running back duos in the Big Ten, if not in college football. There are some better RB1s in the Big Ten. Sure, I'll give you that. But a 1-2 punch, I think Indiana's up there for the best. And let's also just admit here too, most teams don't have 3 reliable options at running back, right? I mean, that's not really normal, especially when you get into Big Ten play or SEC play or Big 12 play, conference play in general. You don't normally have 3 guys on an equal rotation, but Indiana did that the first 3 games. And who knows, maybe they were going to go that route, because if it kept working, I wouldn't have changed it either. But now Indiana has to. So now you're down to Caitlin Black and Roman Hemby. Sure, you've got Kobe Martin in there as a freshman, but I don't expect that to be anything. Maybe he steps into that third role of in a blowout, or if you need a carry or 2 just to give someone a break, maybe. But I don't see that happening all that much. Again, maybe in games that are in control one way or the other. But he's not going to see the field this weekend. Not against Illinois, not against Oregon or Iowa or Penn State, unless you're just in a really bad situation or a really good one. So this one stinks. There's no doubt about it. Lee BeeBe Jr., the UAB transfer, averaging over 7 yards a carry. It didn't look great on Friday, and I was hopeful, but unfortunately a non-contact knee injury has put him out for the season, and the Hoosiers are down to 2 main running backs going in to Big Ten play. All right, coming up on our final segment of Locked On Hoosiers, we'll flip to basketball, and we'll continue this injury conversation, and more on the lighter side, though. Some positive updates from Tucker Devries, plus an added scrimmage inside of Assembly Hall. We talk about that coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's really nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. The endless queues, the hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. It's not cool, right? That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up the Game Time app, and in just a couple of taps, I saw some amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25 sometimes. Just get on there and check it out. If you're looking to get to Indiana, Illinois this weekend, go to one place, use the Game Time app. They got the best prices, the best selection, and it really is true. What you see is what you pay. They're not trying to hide anything from you. They're not sneaking anything by you. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics and your first listen or your first watch every single day. And we start talking a little basketball because we mentioned yesterday on the show that there was a possibility of a scrimmage type of thing being added to the fall schedule for Indiana basketball. We know that Hoosier hysteria in what we have known it to be has gone away. We then knew that the Hoosier Hoops on Kirkwood event was added. That's going to be outside, floor out there, player introductions and some skill competition things, and just more of a true atmosphere event type of thing for the community to be a part of. But we had started to hear that there was a possibility of a scrimmage being added inside of Assembly Hall because it seemed like there were more fans upset about there not being one than I thought there would be. And I guess Indiana heard they heard the rumblings, and so the Hoosiers add a Cream and Crimson Scrimmage the day after the event outside, right? So you've got the Hoosier Hoops on Kirkwood. That's going to be on October 2nd. That's a Thursday night, 8 to 10 o'clock local time. The very next day, that Friday, it's the Cream and Crimson Scrimmage inside of Assembly Hall, 7:30 on that Friday night, open to the public. True scrimmage like. They're not going to do all the big festivities like they used to do at Hoosier Hysteria. They've basically taken that and split it into two events. So all the one big night of craziness, right, with the introductions and the coaches talking to the fans and doing the skills competitions and having some little back and forth basketball. They've basically just separated those two things. They said, all right, we're going to have the entertainment and fan portion over here, and we're going to have the basketball over here, and we're going to put them on separate nights. And for people that want to go to both, you can go to both. If you don't, then don't. That's totally up to you. I like it. I'm cool with it. I said that I wasn't thrilled that they took away a scrimmage, but I also wasn't going to, burn the wall down and try to, raise what about it. I was like, all right, well, whatever, it is what it is. Since we had 3 games to kind of talk about in Puerto Rico, you've got 2 exhibition games, and then the season begins in literally like a month and a half. So I wasn't all up in arms about it, but I guess enough people were. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but Indiana decided they're going to put a scrimmage on. So yes, the Cream and Crimson Scrimmage, Friday, October 3rd, open to the public. And this will be your one true opportunity to get in there and see the team, see what they look like, and kind of what they're going to do, and the size and the shooting ability and the speed that this team is going to have. I think that's a big part of what Indiana wants to do this year. And so that is going to be Friday, October 3rd. That's the day after the Hoosier Hoops on Kirkwood event. And so 2 great days if you're going to be around Bloomington to be a part of this basketball team and kind of see what they are going to be like. And for the most part, the team will be healthy. Most people will be active in that scrimmage, in your exhibition games, and for the season opener. Now, head coach Tucker Devries was on the field at 68 the other day and talked about some of the injury updates for this team. And I know this is a few days old. We haven't had a chance to get to this just yet, but wanted to throw this in here kind of while we were talking about the scrimmage and thing that was added. And so couple of guys that we have some updates on. Tucker Devries sounds like he's good to go. Darren said this may be the healthiest he's ever been in his college career. So that's exciting for somebody who you feel is going to be one of your leaders, one of your lead scorers, one of your go-to guys for this season on both ends of the floor, leadership, just his basketball expertise, right? So that's good to hear that he is should be fully healthy and ready to go. A couple of other guys that we knew have been banged up: Nick Dorn, Josiah Miles, and Jason Drake. Guys that did not really participate in anything that happened this summer. Puerto Rico wasn't for them. Even some of these workouts have not been. The practices leading up to the Puerto Rico trip, they were not really able to be a part of as well. Here's my take on this, just based off of what DeVries had to say and just kind of reading between the lines here. Jason Drake, Josiah Miles are going to take a little bit longer. You're talking about one guy with a foot injury, another guy with a toe injury. I think they will be okay. I think Josiah probably a little bit quicker is what Tucker Devries says. He says Josiah sooner than later. Drake, he says it's going to be a little while. And at this point, you just take them when you can get them, in my opinion. If you're Indiana, just take them when they come back. Don't rush it, especially in non-conference play. There's no need for it. It does sound like Nick Dorn should be good to go for the season opener, though. Should be good to go. Tucker Devries says trying to ramp him up kind of more and more as we go. Hopefully, though, sounds like when practices get started that he may be a part of this. And look, do I think that Nick Dorn, Josiah Miles, or Jason Drake are three guys that are just absolutely crucial for this team at the start of the season? No, I don't. But they're guys that you want. They're guys that can make an impact. They're rotational guys that, heck, if they can get 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes a game and produce when they're out there offensively and defensively, you want them a part of that rotation. It just makes you a deeper team, a stronger team, a more dangerous team. And I think that combination of those three guys, you're going to get a little bit something different between scoring and defense and just pure hustle and IQ. But for that to be the only real problems injury-wise that you have, that's pretty good if you're Indiana. The fact that your top players appear to be healthy and you're just trying to get some of your rotational guys back, I think that's a really, really big deal. So wanted to throw that out there just to give you that update in case you hadn't seen it. I don't think it's really going to truly impact Indiana. Early on, you're trying to figure out your rotations and things anyway. So we'll keep you updated on that and see what that looks like. But yes, you now have an event on October 2nd. You have an event on October 3rd, a couple of exhibition games on October, and then the season opener is a few days into the month of November. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. We're having a ton of fun. This is a big, big week for the channel, so be sure you stay tuned. We have a ton more coming about Indiana and Illinois this Saturday night in Bloomington. Again, we're going to go live on the YouTube channel as soon as the game is over. So make sure you've got those notifications turned on. Just come right here as soon as the game is over. We're going to talk all about it. And we got a lot of cool guests, cool segments, and things coming up this week to get you ready for the Hoosiers and the Illini. We are back tomorrow, Hoosier fans, for another episode. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.